Hello, and welcome to Suprema Webinar. I am Fit On from Suprema Technical Services and Consulting Sector. Thank you for joining us. Today, we'll be talking about BioStar 2 version 2.9.6 new features. Are you all excited to hear about our new features for you? I am very pleased to introduce you to all of them. Let's get started. Before we get started, you might wonder about how to find our webinar contents. There are two ways you can search and look for our webinar content. First, you could use Suprema YouTube. Second of all, you could use Suprema Technical Support site. I personally recommend you all to visit Suprema Technical Support site and watch all the webinars given and guided to you. Today's contents include display authentication results from third-party controller on device screen, ignore repetitive authentication signals from third-party controller via Wiegand, select the resolution of the video transmitted from the device when using Intercom or RTSP, mask or hide user ID name on device screen when authentication succeeds, supports Auth mode editing and batch edit of the device, supports Felica card from custom smart card layout, improved to display both the username and user ID in the user column of the alert list, improve the time to be displayed in seconds in the date column of the alert list. Before we start our section on BioStar 2 software side of new features, I would like to point out Suprema's new device model type XPass 2 MAPB. Suprema introduces a new device model MAPB for XPass 2. This new model type is offered in limited regions, so please do make sure to contact with your direct Suprema sales representative to check its availability in your region or particularly for your company. The key difference between XPass 2 MAPB model and its original models is that XPass 2 MAPB model supports both HID procs and ICAS credentials, additionally to XPass 2 supported RF options. Display authentication results from third-party controller on device screen. Generally, users use Suprema Device to use biometric data. For such cases, Suprema Device will be connected via RS-485 as Intelligent Slave OSDP reader, which first go through authentication using biometric data and then transmits the card ID or user ID to a third-party controller after authentication process. This feature is limited to Suprema Device with LCD screens being used as OSDP reader connected via RS-485 with third-party controllers, either as slave or an intelligent slave. Now, the first chart you see highlighted in gray and black is the previous way how it worked without this new feature. Currently was the process. Suprema Device with LCD screens being used as an OSDP reader connected via RS-485 with third-party controller, either a slave or intelligent slave, shows device matching result as below. So the case is when there's auth result from the device, there's either fail case or success case, right? Now, when it's a fail case, it was not an issue and it's not a problem, but it's the case for authentication success. Now, when it's authentication success, on step 2, the device indicates as success. That is from Suprema Device Side. The Suprema Device was the one making the judgment call. However, our Suprema Device is being connected to third-party controller as an intelligent slave or a slave device. So the slave device should not be the one giving the determination of whether this is authentication success or a failure. So it's only going to send the data, but when at times, you send the data, even though it was a success case in Suprema Device, it could be a fail case from a third-party controller. So first, it will say success, and then after it receives data from the third-party controller, it's going to say fail, which led to clients thinking it's an issue or get confused about these cases. So now, instead, we have developed and now made a case for case 2 issue to be solved. So now from the device side, the device indicates its own authentication results before getting authentication result from the third-party controller, which was confusing, but now it's not going to do that. The device on Suprema 2 is not going to indicate nothing. So the new display result from controller can fix it. Device matching issue case 2 as shown below. So it's going to wait for the third-party controller's feedback and then display the results. I'm going to show you more in depth by using our technical support written article for you. How are you going to set this up is a very interesting part. You're going to go to the device. You're going to go to the network of these devices, but you must select the correct device. It's got to be either intelligent slave or slave device with LCD screens being used as OSDP readers connected via RS-485. Okay, so as you see, the authentication results, RS-485 must be a default. When it's set to default, we're going to see authentication results, display results from controller instead. So when the third-party controller sends red OSDP LED command, either the intelligent slave or slave device will display access denied on the LCD screen with access denied sound as well. While for when it sends green OSDP LED command, the intelligent slave or slave device will display access granted with the access granted sound as well. And you must select display result from the controller. Ignore repetitive authentication signals from third-party controller via Wiegand. Please note that previous case was what? It was RS-485 case for intelligent slave and slave. Now, forget about that part because it can be quite confusing because we're going to now focus on the Wiegand side of it. Okay, ignore repetitive authentication signals from third-party controller via Wiegand. Now, when it's connected via Wiegand, unlike RS-485, it's only a one-way signal, right? So we have BioStation 3 and Base Station F2 that offers these. But remember, when it comes with device with new features to be working with BioStar 2, the most important part about all is to check the firmware version. You must. It's a very critical matter for you to check if you are using the proper version for this feature. So when integrating Suprema product with third-party controller via Wiegand, major third-party controllers are generally designed to send the same authentication feedback multiple times, which causes Suprema device to go in a loop, as in it's going to go in a loop showing the repetitive results over and over again. So now, in order to cancel out, as in ignore the repetitive continuous authentication signals being sent from the third-party controls, even when the same authentication signal has been sent the first time, now can be fixed by BioStar 2 trigger action feature in the device by determining the duration to ignore repeated signals based on the particular firmware. With this feature, the usage of BioStar 2 software will ensure Suprema device to not replay the authentication signal multiple times for a signal authentication event. Please, let's go through this image for help you to understand. What was it? We have BioStation 3 firmware version 1.3.0 or higher, Base Station F2 and firmware version 2.2.0 and higher. Please note that these firmware will be given in our official website by the end of June and start of July. We'll make an official announcement as well. Now, when it's connected via, user will come to the Suprema device, which is connected to the third-party controller via Wiegand for authentication process. The signal one from Suprema device, either card ID or user ID or other information will get sent via Wiegand. Now, from the third-party controller, how is it sending? It's gonna send the result by LED output, which is connected to Suprema's device input port. So it's going to send that signal, but even when it's sent out, the output, once it's going to repeatedly send that output signal, even after the same signal will be repetitive sent. So the blue signal is one signal being repetitively sent with same data over and over again. That's the issue that we were facing. Now, how are we going to reduce this issue? You're going to make sure you're going to check the firmware version of the device you're using. You're going to select the device. You're going to go to the device menu in BioStar 2, and you're going to go to trigger an action, and you're going to go to input. When you go to the input and select the action part as function, the menu ignores repetitive signal duration, milliseconds, going to pop up. Let me show you in the video with a step-by-step guide. now. So ignore repetitive signals. Duration, we said it can only be used with particular device and firmware version. You must check the device firmware version. So we're going to go to the device. We're going to go and see the firmware. It was not in the right version, so we're going to upgrade it to the correct version so we can apply this new feature with it. Then when you go into BioStation 3 or FSF2, you're going to go to the advanced size. And then within advanced, you're going to go to trigger and action. Now, when you select input, oh, you might wonder, oh, Fit, I don't see the pop-up menu right away. What's going on? You must go to the action side. And when you click on function, then the menu ignore repetitive signals going to pop up. So please note that when you go into trigger and you do not see the menu pop up, or don't worry, it's not a bug or an issue. It's simply that you have to go to the action side to make sure to see the menu again. Okay, please note that feature. Select the resolution of the video transmitted from the device when using Intercom or RTSP. Now, I'm going to have a short little question for you, a little reminder in your head. Can you think of a Suprema device that offers both Intercom feature and RTSP feature? There are many devices within Suprema. Now, which one does that feature belong to? Now, if you're having a hard time, let me give you a little hint. The hint is that it's a visual face feature. It has a very nice looking screen. We also say it's very like a mobile phone looking like at sometimes too. If you guessed BioStation 3, yes, you are correct. This feature is only going to be applied in BioStation 3. So let's go and have a look. Now, within the BioStation 3 inside of the Intercom menu, you can find out that there are two differences that has been upgraded. Now, please note that this feature is also only going to be supported on BioStation 3 firmware version 1.3.0 or above, which is planned to be released in June 2024. There are two differences that we have made an upgrade for. One is the SIP server transport. Before, the only default for this option was UDP, and still it is going to be set as UDP for default, but now you have the option of changing the SIP server transport to TCP SSL when setting up the Intercom SIP server. It selects the SIP transmission method. And the second part is we now have Intercom video resolution. The video resolution is set as default by 360 by 640, but you can also set up to 720 by 480. And the RTSP video resolution as well for default is going to be set by 180 by 320, but it can also set at 720 by 480. Mask or hide user ID name on device screens when authentication succeeds. With the enhancement of security measures, Suprema device with LCD display now provide options for setting to partially mask or completely hide the user ID and username displayed on the device's authentication success screen. Let's look at this image. On the left side is our BioStation 3 with a previous feature of showing all the user ID and username on the device screen itself. But now you have the option of rather to display the username with option with mask all, but first letter, display all, or hide all. Now, the first case you see is the username display option has been selected to mask all, but first letter. So it's going to show the first letters only. While in user IDs display, you have selected as display all. So it's showing the whole entire user ID. The second image is both option for username and ID has been set for mask all but first letter, while the last option has been set to be hide all. So it's only going to show you the authentication result on the screen. Now, there are three options for username display and user IDs display. Display all means that it's going to display the whole user ID and name as it is. Mask all but first letter means that it's only going to display the first character ID and mask the rest with asterisk. The asterisk is the star-looking bar kind of thingy, if you are getting confused with what kind of icon or character that might be. Now, Hide all means you're not going to display the ID or username at all. You're only going to show the authentication result of the screen itself. Please note that each setting can be configured independently for user ID and username, which means you do not have to set the same option for both. You can set user ID to be hide all, while for username, you can set it for display only the first character or such. It can be a mix and match. Please note that even if you are, in case of using BioStar 2 for Arabic language, and since Arabic language is reading from right to left, you might think the first letter option might be applied from right to left side, but actually for this purpose, we have not applied the Arabic beginning written from the right to left part. So everything when the determination of first comes from left to right. How to set up username display and user ID display. You're going to go to the device. You're going to select the certain device with LCD display. And then you're going to go to the authentication menu section. And you're going to see the username display option and user ID display option. And you can set them separately. Supports auth mode editing and batch edit of the device. So what's this purpose? If you're not aware of batch edit, please make sure you know the concept of batch edit of the device. It means instead of having to select each single individual devices to be edited for certain settings, it means you can select number of devices and make sure those number of devices are in same settings as well. Now, here is an example. So for device batch edit, you could have either use DHCP option or device status, image log, full access. These were all previously given options. But now we have authentication mode edit option in which you can decide. But what's important when it comes to batch edit, if all the device models selected are not within the same model, a pop-up error will appear when pressing the edit button in the batch edit window. Imagine this, you have about, like, say, 10,000 devices. Not your 10,000 devices might be all in the same authentication mode. Some might be just using card only. Some might be face. Some might be fingerprints, biometric data, and so forth and so on. So you cannot set a certain authentication mode to be applied the same to all the devices. What you have to do is you must group your devices within, as in your device models should be all selected within the same model. Then you'll be able to edit. But let's say you have a bioentry W2 and you have so many of them that it got mixed up and you by mistake selected a BioStation 3 with a bioentry W2. Then you will not be able to do the batch edit and you're going to get this error on your screen. So if you get this error, please make sure to go back to the device list and select the devices and make sure they're all within the same models. Support Felica card from custom smart card layout. The upgrade of the custom smart card function in version 2.9.6 not only allows my bare Aspire type of BioStar 2 cards, but also Felica standard smart card and use it with some Suprema devices. Caution matter. Client cannot issue a Felica standard smart card with BioStar 2 software. This is a caution matter that can be quite confusing to certain clients and users, that when we say you can set something up, they automatically believe that it means you can issue a card. But actually issuing a card and being able to set up a card to be read is a total different concept. So please make sure and let everybody know that we're not going to be issuing a Felica card. We're going to be setting it up, the new smart card feature for the device to be able to read it. Okay. Now, then how are we going to set up the smart card layout for the Felica card? Same process for all the smart cards in general, but let's go step by step in depth. Step 1, add the layout for smart card of Felica standard to be used. You're going to go to settings and click card format. Click smart card, and then you're going to find add smart card. Select the option Custom Smart Card and Smart Card Type, and then select Felica among the 3 card types. Then put the card information such as system code, service code, and ID field. After that, click Applied. Please note that sometimes you might wonder, oh, where do I get the system code, service code, and ID field data? How am I supposed to know this? And we do have clients who contact Suprema and ask us about it, but please note that Suprema is not the person in which is in charge of your Felica card information. Please contact your Felica purchase original place for certain data, or somebody might have already set it up that you are not aware of it. So please check within and then set it up using the proper information of your Felica card. Now, you're gonna go and apply the smart card layout, which you have just set up to a certain device. You're gonna go to the device and select the device to be used. And you're gonna apply the layout which you have just set up, the smart card custom layout part. We're going to go to the card type and enable the option in custom smart card. As you see in number 2, this custom smart card needs to be enabled for this device to read certainly. And then among all the custom smart card layout, we're going to set up to Felica. We have in step 1, we call the custom smart card layout as test. That's why the test one is selected. So please make sure you remember the custom smart card layout name that you have set it up, so you can properly apply to the proper one with the correct name. Now, we're going to enroll the Felica type smart card in the device that has, so a certain user with that Felica device reading the smart card will be able to use it. So we have a case here, user, and then we're going to go to select this user and add this user's credential card to be the Felica custom smart card layout card. Now, how to enroll it? You're gonna select the card type to smart card. You're gonna select the device which you have just selected where you applied the layout. And then the smart card type is gonna be custom smart card. And number 4 option is option up to you. Since we already have applied the layout to the device, you can do it, register by a card reader and select that device in particular. Or you can say assign card, or you can enter manually as well. And then you will be able to have a user to use their own Felica card to be read within our Suprema devices. Improve to display both the username and user ID in the user column of the alert list. Now, this is the difference in the UI with our BioStar 2 software. Now, in previous versions of BioStar 2, 2.9.5 and lower, as you see in the alert list, for the user, you can only check out their user ID. It does not show the username, which could be quite confusing for an administrator or someone who wants to check why that alert has occurred and who have got that alert listed as well. So now from BioStar 2 version 2.9.6, we will be able to see the displayed for both username and user ID. Improve the time to be displayed in seconds in the date column of the alert list. Now, in the below version of BioStar 2, version 2.9.5 and lower, as you see in the date part, you can see the year, the month, the date, the time in hour and minutes. While, as you see in the image below, for BioStar 2 version 2.9.6 and above, you can check year, month, date, hour, minute, and seconds for you to follow up more clearly. Now, that will be all for our BioStar 2 version 2.9.6 new features. If you have any other question, please feel free to contact us through our technical support. Thank you for joining us.